All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Papillion-La Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for October 9th, 2023. First item on the agenda, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Next item, a roll call, please.
Here.
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 And could I get a motion for Ms. Holtmeyer's absence, please?
I'll make a motion to excuse the absence of Ms. Holtmeyer.
Second.
All right, I got a motion made by Mr. Lotus and a second by Ms. Fisher. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes.
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 All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on to Section 2, Item A, recognition. Dr. Tammy Voisin. Dr. Rickley?
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey, members of the board. We did make this announcement at a previous board meeting, but Dr. Voisin wasn't able to join us. But before I get to that, a little bit of context perhaps for some of our community members that are either tuning in for the first time or joining us for the first time. So we try to carve out time with every agenda to bring attention to either students that have distinguished themselves in the field of play, in the classroom, in activities, extracurriculars, things of that nature, as well as staff members who have done something that have exemplified what we look for here at Papillion-La Vista Community Schools. And the individual that we are honoring tonight certainly fits that bill. Tonight, we are honoring the Distinguished Special Education Administrator of the Year as awarded by the Nebraska Association of Special Education Supervisors. Our own Dr. Tammy Voisin was honored as the 2023 Distinguished Special Education Administrator of the Year, presented by the Nebraska Association of Special Education Supervisors, NASAS. This award is a high honor and recognition of Dr. Voisin's invaluable contributions in the lives of Papillion-La Vista Community School students in her work as an administrator. She was previously recognized in 2021 as the NASAS Outstanding New Special Education Supervisor. I would like to think that we surprised Dr. Voisin. A group of us went down to Lincoln. It was at the Cornhusker Marriott. All of her lovely family members were there lying in wait. I kind of think Dr. Voisin saw it coming, but she was a good sport and played along anyway. Tammy, we could not be more proud of you. We are so very lucky to have you leading our program and directly providing support to our families and kids. Will you please come down and be recognized by your Board of Education? We know how very busy you are, Dr. Voisin, so if you need to sneak out a little early, otherwise we would love to have you stay, but congratulations to you and your team. I see Kaylee, Miss Ayala has joined you. Thank you, Kaylee, for being here. Dr. Voisin, congratulations again. We are very proud of you. And with that, Mr. Bailey, I would conclude our recognitions for the evening.
All right, thank you very much. Next up on the communications, item B, is Student Council from Papillion-La Vista High School. Nova and Daya. Do I just have one of you here?
Nova should be on her way. Traffic.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Of course. Good afternoon. I am Dayanara Lopez, President of Student Council. So far, with the start of school till now, in our state golf, we had 2 athletes qualify on Monday, October 9th. Their names are Audra Demery and Kasha Stolberg. For band, they have performed and placed at least 3rd in all competitions this year. Our percussions won Best Group at one event. For tennis, our boys have won 2 invites this year. They prepare for districts and states these next few weeks. For volleyball, we are again having another good season. Mia Traverdi was selected as one of 24 athletes across the nation to be a member of the Under Armour All-American team, and she will be playing in this event that will be televised on ESPN. For football, we're having a good season. We are on pace to qualify for the playoffs that will start in 2 weeks, which is amazing. For cross country, our girls have had a great season as well. We have districts this week, and Lincoln and hope to qualify and place at state. For fall, our fine arts members will produce the play Ghostly Nights this year, and they perform October 27th through October 28th. Our fine arts will also perform SpongeBob with our Unified Friends, and this will show on November 10th. Along with this, our softball, they qualified for state and will play this week in Hastings. We have the longest streak of state appearances in the state of Nebraska. We did have our Spirit Week this past week. Themes were Barbie, Surfer vs. Biker, Country, and colors based on the student's grade. Teachers also got to wear tie-dye. We had our dance this Saturday, which was Neon Lights. It was a great success. The coordination was at 10 p.m., and Student Council got together and did an amazing job of decorating the morning of. And food drives with all clubs are through December, and Student Council will be attending the State Convention in Grand Island on October 27th. NHS is finishing up with the application process, and NHS and Student Council will be doing the yard work at Terra Heights at the beginning of November to help their PTO. Furthermore, HOSA is hosting a blood drive in November, and the book club is reading a Halloween book called 5 Survive and meeting to discuss new Dungeons and Dragons club meets after school on Tuesdays. And finally, DECA has upcoming Fall Leadership Conference, pumpkin painting, and a night at the Bellevue Berry Farm. And these are just a few of the amazing things we've been up to at our school here at Papillion La Vista Monarchs. So, yep. Thank you.
Good job doing it solo. That's impressive. So,
Thank you. It was quite a bit, but
yeah, you did.
all good things. Thank you for your time.
Outstanding report, and I would like just to recognize in front of the community and the board that you're technically on fall break. So for you to come in here on what should be a night off and deliver this presentation sure means a lot. So thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you, guys.
Outstanding report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Have a good afternoon.
All right, next up on our agenda, item C, public comment for items not on the agenda. We do have a couple tonight, so please remember when I call your name, come up to the table, state your name. If you do not want to state your whole address, at least give us your city, please. That is our new policy. And you will have 3 minutes to speak. Kathy, as usual, will have the timer. It'll go off at 2 minutes and 15 seconds, and then again at 3 minutes when your time is up. All right, first up tonight is Mr. Kevin Padilla.
Good evening, Papillion La Vista School Board. My name is Kevin Padilla, and I reside in Papillion. I would like to take you back once again to the school board budget for the Papillion La Vista School District. The school board presented the district school board budget on 11 September 2023. After I noticed a glaring error on the projected legal fees line, I made a concerted effort to review the other projected percentages. What I found was numerous errors, 14 to be exact, and I brought it to your attention on 25 September. One school board member made an effort to thank me for my diligence. However, approximately 30 to 40 minutes later, the school board voted in the affirmative to pass the school district school budget on 25 September. I find it appalling the school board did not either suspend the vote or at least amend it, saying the school budget will be passed after making required changes brought to our attention by a constituent. I hold the superintendent directly responsible as he is the leader of the school board. Is this your normal course of action to ignore Any problems brought forward by the public? Just asking. Remember, the school board works for the people. Constituents are the people the board has been elected to represent. I am one of those constituents. Therefore, you likely should have made the requisite corrections on the slide before approving it. How do you rationalize passing a school budget that had a tremendous amount of errors and was not effectively an overall 3% increase, but rather it was a 3.12% increase? Was the overall projected increase changed to 3.12? Just asking. Is the school board being fiscally responsible, or are you being irresponsible? Just asking. I believe the school board made a mistake and hope you rectified the budget numbers prior to submission on 26 September to the state of Nebraska, the Nebraska Department of Education, and Sarpy County Clerk. Will you provide us with a copy of what was submitted, or at least provide a link so we can see what was submitted? If you do not see fit to rectify mistakes, then I hope the voting public, the people, hold you accountable. The public has every right to a school board that is open, transparent, and honest. We need a school board working for we the people, not dictating to us. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Bailey, if I may, we generally do not provide feedback after public comment is provided, but I think given the nature of Mr. Padilla's comments, Mr. Richards will be speaking directly to the errors. You are absolutely correct, sir. There were some percentage errors. The raw numbers, I believe, were accurate. Mr. Richards will speak to that shortly, but the percentages were off. We appreciate you catching that and bringing that to our attention. It did not impact the budget from the number standpoint, but the percentages were incorrect, and we certainly appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, Mr. Edward Weniger.
Edward Weniger, my address is on the form. I live in Papillion. $200,000. That's how much we have in next year's budget for legal fees. In his monologue last meeting, Dr. Rickley tried to place most of the blame on voters for filing records requests. That is an entirely avoidable situation if the administration was willing to be forthright and readily answer simple questions posed by its constituents. It's been 2 years, and to my knowledge, we have still not found out the name of the person who posted about the school board election from the Papillion La Vista social media account, despite requests. But when parents post on social media, they are readily exposed, while those associated with the district are protected and requests for information are ignored. Not specifically mentioning the Ryan Larson situation seems to be a huge oversight. Why are we fighting a parent in court after losing her son? I'd like to hear an update on that case from the superintendent, since it is likely a large portion of that $200,000. Specifically, I came today to talk about the secret changes made to the young adult book permissions, which I am told was decided by Superintendent Rickley, Shireen Siri, Brett Richards, and Carrie Settles. Sometime in the past year, or maybe even 6 months, all 5th and 6th graders were given access to young adult material in the library. If you don't want your child to have access, you now need to opt them out. Previously, checking out YA material was on a whitelist basis. If a parent wanted their child to read young adult material, they would have to sign a permission form. This is a very significant difference, impacting over 1,700 students across all elementary schools with almost zero communication. Furthermore, it was left to each principal to message rather than coming from the administrative building where the decision was made. My questions are: 1, why was the YA policy changed? 2, who decided not to make it abundantly clear to parents there was a 180-degree pivot? And 3, why can we not get answers to simple questions about how or why this transpired? Juxtapose this with Dr. Rickley mentioning how they just spent an entire year marketing the bond. They talk all the time about community closet. We spend a lot of time discussing awards, but why would they try to bury this very impactful procedural change to young adult material? What prompted any of this in the first place? The closing line from Dr. Rickley's latest email to me seems to best summarize the district's resistance to uncomfortable questions. We fully understand you do not agree with the district on the issue of library books. This is the last email regarding the issue we will respond to, which prompts the obvious question: are parents in the district treated differently based on whether they agree with Dr. Rickley or not? Am I being treated differently than other taxpayers because of my stance on library books? That seems problematic. It was my understanding that we are all equal in the eyes of government. If that is the end of the discussion because he doesn't want information to get out, then my only recourse is to file a records request. But I want it publicly stated that the cost of the staff and attorneys to fulfill the records request falls squarely on the shoulders of the superintendent for not adequately responding via email, not any of the district's parents where he tried to place the blame.
All right, next up on Section 2 Communications is item D, the Superintendent's Report. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey, members of the board, as well as members of the community that have joined us here tonight. Thank you for joining us, as well as for those that are watching at home on YouTube. We appreciate you engaging with your Board of Education during a very timely meeting. It is fall break, as I mentioned earlier, as we had our student council report. Staff and students were off last Friday. They got a long weekend. Staff returned for professional development today, but students had the day off. So this marks kind of the unofficial end of first quarter. Almost all parent-teacher conferences at this point have been wrapped up. Doesn't seem possible that we're already a quarter of the way done with the school year, but the fall term always goes by very fast. Along with the professional development for our teachers today, we also hosted the para conference, which is something that Dr. Settles and her team have done for a number of years now, where we provide specialized training in a number of areas to our para educators. And as Ms. Witt often puts in a shameless plug for our para educators, we are always hiring, we are always looking for good people, and opportunities like that help us train and retain those outstanding people that we have. So thank you, Andrew Bell and Dr. Settles, for the good work you put in there. Also wanted to remind the community and the board, we had spoken at the last meeting about a possible Board of Education meeting being held in one of our schools. Specifically, we talked about Papillion La Vista High School on November 13th. We still want to hold one of our regular Board of Education meetings at one of our schools for purposes, one, of making sure that we're engaging with all parts of this community, north, south, east, west, as well as highlighting some of the work that's been done with our bond dollars. However, we want to make sure that all of our AV and security needs are properly prepared for a meeting. The last thing in the world we want to do is take our show on the road, so to speak, and have issues with sound or video. So we're just going to put that off for a little bit, but with any luck at all, we're going to try to get that done in the next month or two. But please cross that off your list. November 13th, the regular Board of Education meeting will be here at the central office, as we would ordinarily hold it at 6 p.m. Also wanted to share with the board, we've had a couple of interactions with Congressman Flood's office. We had a meeting with Congressman Flood recently. He expressed concern about a variety of issues. At the time, there hadn't been the deal that was struck to keep the federal government out of shutdown. It looked at that point in time like we were fast approaching a federal shutdown, and Congressman Flood had expressed some great concern about that, specifically how it would impact our schools, because most of our dollars come from taxpayer dollars and or state aid, but we do receive federal dollars, particularly when it comes to federal title programs. So we talked a little bit about if a shutdown happened, how that could put some of our federal programs in danger, and Congressman Flood was very sympathetic to that. He had a visit planned to the district tomorrow, but given some of the heavy lifting that's occurring at the federal level with change in House leadership, as well as what's happening in Israel right now, we decided this was probably not the right time for the congressman to be in the district. So we're going to try to get him back in the school district very, very soon, when hopefully things are a bit calmer. Also wanted to share with the board and the community, we have held our first round of advisory meetings. Our community is probably aware of this by now, but we have a number of groups that we meet with at least quarterly and in some cases monthly. Our student advisory, which consists of 8 Monarch and 8 Titans, we meet with them over lunch once a month. That's the group that meets most frequently. But we have another number of other groups that meet at least quarterly, and we held those meetings, our teacher advisory and our classified staff advisory specifically, in the last week and a half. Classified staff would include drivers, food service workers, clerical workers, paraeducators, to name just a few. So they're a great opportunity for us to share what's going on at the district level, as well as for us to hear from the people that are out in the trenches doing the work closest to our students. Had the opportunity to attend the Buffett and Goodrich lunch at Monarch last week. Those are need and academic-based scholarship opportunities for our students. Every year, both Titan and Monarch students receive a number of Goodrich and Buffett scholarships. They are very, very lucrative. They're comparable to a Regent scholarship. It's basically a full ride. Very frequently, these are first-generation college students. Again, since financial need is part of the qualification status. We had, I bet, 70 students show up. And part of it was because we provided free lunch, and kids love a slice of pizza. But there were a lot of kids there that you could just see it in their eyes. They see these opportunities for what they are, a chance to change their life and their families' lives and their financial status moving forward. So really, really proud of the work that Monarch and Titan do in advertising these scholarships, and special thanks to the foundations that support these. They provide terrific opportunities for our kids. Speaking of high honors, we also gave out our first Superintendent Gratitude Award of the Year. Every year we allow our employees, we encourage our employees to nominate each other for things that where they recognize their peers going above and beyond. And then once a month we go through the previous month's winners and select somebody that's really gone above and beyond that group. This month's winner was Dallas Anthus. He's a special education paraeducator at Parkview Heights. It's a surprise when we go out there. Dallas barely skipped a beat. So we're talking about, these nominations and all the wonderful things at Dallas. And Dallas was literally on the floor working with a kid. It's like, yeah, I guess that's me, but that's not why I'm not here for recognition. I'm here to work with kids. So congratulations, Dallas. I don't know if you're watching tonight, but thank you for the work you do to support our kids and families. So lots of fun things going on across the district. Can't believe we're at that quarterway point, but here we are, Mr. Bailey, members of the board. With that, I would conclude my superintendent comments.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, item E, board reports.
I had the opportunity to attend the job fair that was held here at the central office on September 28th, and Mr. Bell led that effort. It was a really fun time to see all the people who came to attend, and I think we had both classified and a couple certified, didn't we, who were attendants. And I didn't stay for the interview process, but the introduction was just fantastic. They did a great job. On the 29th, Mr. Lotus and I attended the ribbon cutting at La Vista West. There were a lot of former staff and dignitaries, making it a multi-generational event. The staff and students were very proud of their updated building. And was it the 60th anniversary of that school? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a really good event. We got to watch them cut the ribbon, and the kids were clapping and singing their school song, and it was really wonderful.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic event. It's just amazing. I went to La Vista West quite a few times for different events. I went to G. Stanley Hall and had the opportunity last year for a liaison lunch to finally get into the building after the construction was finished, and to see some of these, the oldest buildings in our district have that complete renovation, closed-in classrooms, the lighting. It just makes everything so much brighter, and the hallways are bigger, and the flow with students, it's great. And to know that, we now have another bond to finish off the renovations at the remaining elementary schools, just to see that progression, it was phenomenal. The kids were amazing. That was a great way to spend my lunch hour, that's for sure.
I had one opportunity I wanted to mention. The Tuesday after our last meeting, I had about a dozen HAL students from our district come down to UNO, and we had arranged this months before, and they came and I spoke to them a little bit about aviation, tried to teach them the basics about aviation, then put them in our simulators for about an hour, hour and a half or whatever. So interesting to watch them. It's amazing. They've been studying aviation here, in bits and pieces in that HAL program. In fact, they told me after the sims they were going back here to fly drones. So I was like, that's fantastic. But it was a lot of fun watching them. Like I said, they were all, I want to say maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, that age. So hopefully some future UNO aviation students. It was a lot of fun hosting them. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. If that's it for board reports, we'll move on to item F. Committee reports, buildings, grounds, and finance.
Yes, we met last Thursday morning. We have multiple items on tonight's agenda that we went through and finalized. Again, having a lot of conversation around the budget, as well as the updates and progression timeline of the prior bond projects that are finalizing, as well as where we're at in moving forward with the current bond projects that are either currently in design or baseball, softball, or sorry, not baseball, softball, baseball at both Fricky and Titan Field. The dirt's moving. So real good progress with those two projects as we start off the 2022 bond. So lots going on with building grounds and finance. Did I miss anything, Mr. Madler?
Nice, thank you. Human Resources and Student Services.
Our next meeting is next week, so we have nothing to report right now.
Thank you. And Curriculum and Americanism.
We met October 3rd. We discussed a little bit the board policy 6405 and where we are with any of the book updates. We also talked about the academic performance data for 2022-23 that is still embargoed, so we're waiting for that to come out and be available for everyone to see. We also talked a lot about the ideal program, and what does that look like moving forward. There's been several discussions around different options, so we talked about that. We did a little bit of a conversation about the strategic plan follow-up, and then we also talked about the transition from Cognia to Nebraska frameworks and what that looks like as we move forward. And that was the total sum of our meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, that concludes Section 2, Communications. Section 3, Action Items. Item A, Action by Consent.
I'll make a motion that we approve the action by consent as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Mr. Madler. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 All right, thank you very much. All right, item B, City of La Vista Interlocal Agreement for City Park. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Good evening, and we have the copy of the La Vista City Interlocal available for you there for the City Park Field number 2 that we've been through quite a bit, and I think we have it at a point where both entities are ready to approve tonight, so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I'll make the motion to enter into a 25-year interlocal agreement with the City of La Vista for the use of City Park Field number 2 as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Madler, second by Mr. Lotus. Any other discussion or questions? Roll call, please. Yes.
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 All right, thank you very much. All right, next, item C, a final property tax request resolution. Mr. Richards.
Yes, thank you. We are at the last stage tonight of our budget and tax request process, so real appreciative of all the time the Buildings and Grounds and Finance Committee have put in throughout the summer. And, I wanted to bring your attention first to two charts that I have attached to the board packet tonight that kind of correct the percentages that were previously shown at the last board meeting. Whether we had an input error on a spreadsheet, my fault on that, and I apologize for that. Those are internal documents that I shared that night. Those aren't state budget forms. So all the numbers were correct within the state budget forms submitted, which were attached to the last board packet. So that can be reviewed on our website at any point by the public. I would also say that Mr. Badia, I thanked him for pointing those out to me and got those fixed as soon as I could after that was given. But I appreciate the public keeping an eye on those things. Tonight, we're looking at the property tax resolution. General fund, we're looking at trying to pull in $81,010,100. That is 0.927261 cents on the levy. Bond fund of $17,184,298. That's a levy of 0.199553. And the building fund of $2,020,202 of a levy of 0.023124. For a total levy of $1.149938, $1.149938. I'd be happy to answer any questions on that if you have any on the tax resolution.
Any comments or? All
Oh,
right,
one thing I
just-
did,
oh, I'm sorry.
one thing I did want to bring up along with the errors that Mr. Badie had brought up in the public comment tonight is on the state budget form, you will see 3%. That's their formula, not mine. They don't do decimals. They round it to the nearest whole number when you look at the state budget forms. So those are locked. I put my numbers in and they put out 3% for that, 4% overall on operating budget. So those are correct.
And you said those numbers were correct, it was just the percentages, just something in the...
Just the internal doc charts that I showed you
Yeah.
tonight, or last meeting.
Last week, yeah.
Had an percentage area input error.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to approve the attached tax request resolution for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. We've got a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Mr. Lotus. Any further questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. All right, item D is the Media Center bid at Papillion La Vista High School. Mr. Rich?
Yes, I'll give you an update on that here tonight. Bids were due last Friday at 2 p.m. So we had this on the agenda in case we had a bid that was acceptable. Most of the time we do get a bid that's acceptable. We didn't this time. We had 6 companies that showed up for the pre-bid meeting. Only one company submitted a bid, and it was way over the estimate that the architects had given us for the project. We had a bid of over $347,000. The architects have this estimated at $100,000. So we are going back to the drawing board a little bit with our architects. We're going to reach out to some companies, see why they didn't bid on the project. And I look at the timeline, could be a possible thing we need to look at as far as when we wanted to get it done for some of the companies that were involved in the pre-bid meeting. So once we get that organized, we'll look to try to go out for another public bid on this particular project. So with that, I would recommend a motion to reject the bid of all-purpose construction tonight for the Media Center Academy project proposal.
Given those numbers, I'd be happy to make a motion to reject the bid of all-purpose construction for the Media Center Academy project proposal.
Second.
Okay, motion to reject the bid by Mr. Lotus and a second by Ms. Fisher. Any other comments or discussion by anyone? All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
to reject, yes. All right, thank you very much. Item E, policies 4,000, 5,000, and 8,000 legal updates. Dr. Myers, Dr. Steele, and Dr. Settle.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take this one. We have not had any updates since it was proposed at the last meeting.
All right, thank you. Any?
Thanks. I make a motion to approve policy 4016, 4017, 5004, 5202, 5302, and 8420 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. All right, a motion by Ms. Witt and a second by Mr. Lotus. Any discussion on this?
I just want to thank Dr. Myers, Steele, and Settles for continuously going through our these policies. There's if anyone goes online and looks at them, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages, so it's not easy to stay on top of, especially with all the legislative changes that we got to stay on top of. So I just want to thank the team for staying on top of what we need to be doing to our policies to make sure we're in compliance with some of those the state and federal laws as well.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 All right, thank you very much. Next one over. Maybe. There we go. All right, next item, item F, the option enrollment resolution. Are you taking this one as well, or are you going to get help this time?
They are actually here if
All
we do
right.
need anything further, and that student services team has done a lot of work in this area, but there is no change since this was proposed at the last meeting. But they are happy to come up if you want them to.
I'll make a motion to approve the option enrollment resolution for the 2024-25 school year as presented.
Second.
All right, thank you. Motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Ms. Witt. Any other discussion? I also would agree to thank you all very much for going through all that. That takes quite a bit. But no other discussion? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. All right, item G is the superintendent's performance goals for 2023-24. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey, members of the board. No changes since last time. The goals have remained unchanged. Just as a reminder to our community and individuals who may be watching at home, this Board of Education does choose to evaluate more than they are statutorily required to do. New superintendents, that is, superintendents in their first year, must be evaluated not less than twice a year. Being this is my 11th year as your superintendent, it's only required that it occurs once a year. In practice, this board has at least 2 formal conversations in open board meetings, typically in December, and then typically again in May or June. So we're certainly going above and beyond what the state requires, but I would happily answer any questions that the board has about the goals and some of the indicators beneath the goals.
I'll make the motion to approve the superintendent's 2023-24 performance goals as presented.
Second.
All right, a motion by Mr. Madler and a second by Ms. Fisher. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please. Yes.
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 All right, thank you very much. And item H under our action items is accepting board member Brittany Holtmeyer's resignation. And Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey, members of the board. We did receive notification approximately a week and a half ago from Ms. Holtmeyer that she wished to resign her position from the Board of Education effective immediately. She outlined some of her rationale. I don't know that it behooves us to talk about those reasons in here. It's been reported in the media. If you want to see the story, you're certainly at your liberty to do that. But it doesn't formally the resignation does not formally take effect until this board takes action on it. What we will do if this board does accept her resignation here in just a moment is we'll outline the process for filling that position. As an editorial comment before I turn it back over to the board for a recommendation and possible action, I would like to thank Ms. Holtmeyer and her family for the 9 months that she served. I know I sound like a broken record. I bring it up multiple times a year. These jobs are not easy jobs. These jobs are very difficult jobs. These jobs require extensive amount of preparation, time spent in subcommittee meetings, at school board meetings, at school activities, the list goes on. And it is one of the very few public official positions that there is no remuneration provided. They do it because they love kids and their families and their community. They're doing it for free. They are donating their time for free. So in spite of the fact that it didn't work out to Ms. Holtmeyer's expectations, we are grateful for the time that she gave this school district, and we're excited to move forward in filling that open position. And with that, you can see, the board can see there are actually 2 separate recommendations for a motion. Motion number 1, the motion to accept the resignation of Ms. Holtmeyer as she requested in her email. And then the second recommendation would be to direct the superintendent, that is me as board policy outlines, to implement a timeline and an application process that the board and the superintendent will collaboratively undertake to fill that position in a timely manner as outlined by board policy 8212. And with that, Mr. Bailey, I'd answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions?
I'll make the motion that the board accepts the resignation of board member Brittany Holtmeyer.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions on that? Okay, roll call for that. Motion number 1, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you. That's motion number 1. Motion number 2, please.
I'll make the motion that the board directs Superintendent Rickley to implement board policy 8212 to take the necessary steps to advertise the vacancy on the board and to begin the process of appointing a replacement member of the board.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. For motion number 2, made a motion by Mr. Lotus and a second by Mr. Madler. Any questions or discussion of that? All right, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you very much. With that, we are done with our action items. Section 3, we'll move to Section 4, which that discussion information item, the board member vacancy and the process. And Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bailey, members of the board. I believe we have a slide or two. We want to make this as transparent as possible. There are very few tasks entrusted with this school board that are more sacred and more critical than filling a resignation when it occurs. This is not unprecedented. In fact, it's happened once previously in my tenure, my 11 years as your superintendent. It happened in 2017 when a board member had to resign partway into his term because of some professional commitments. It happens. It happens across the metro. It happens across the state. It happens across the country. It's always disappointing when it happens, but we're always excited about finding somebody to represent the will of the people. Just so you have some context, the last time it happened in 2017, we had a tremendous outpouring of interest. In fact, I had Ms. Barranco pull the number of applicants. We had 38 applicants completed for one open position, and we had another 8 applicants that started the application but didn't actually complete it. So the interest level in 2017 was quite high. I anticipate that the interest in this next round will be equally high. So for those of you who may be listening, we strongly encourage you to fill out the application, to go through the steps. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. We will move quickly, we will move strategically, we will move deliberately to fill this position so that the will of the people is well represented on this Board of Education. There will be information on the website too for those of you that weren't able to be here tonight or maybe to watch at home on YouTube. We will have application materials and some of these timeline requirements outlined so that we get the best possible pool of applicants. So, as outlined in Board Policy 8212, which is also outlined on your website, by the way, if you want to make sure that you have all of the information outlined in front of you. On October 10th of this year, that is this week, we will begin advertisement of vacancy and begin the application process. Administration's had a chance to review the application. The board has had a chance to review the application. They've provided some feedback on it. That application will be live, I believe, by tomorrow morning on the district website. And Ms. Iman is shaking her head, so that is accurate. Fast forward approximately 3.5 weeks, November 3rd. This is a very critical date. This is one of those things that's outlined by our policy. Applications are due by 4:30 p.m. They will be sent directly to the school district. If you have questions, reach out, call us, email us. We can tell you how to drop them off, how to submit them. They will go through our board secretary, who's Ms. Sue Ann Witt. We will not wait until we have all of the batches in on November 3rd. We will forward them on to the board as they are received. So, for example, if we receive an application on October 11th, we're not going to wait till the 3rd to get those out to board members. We will start distributing those immediately so that board members have ample time to review the applications and begin the vetting process. That November 3rd at 4:30, however, is a drop-dead date. We absolutely must adhere to that so that we are consistent with board policy and procedure. Moving on to November 9th. This is an optional meeting, and I'll explain why it's optional in just a little bit. Board policy outlines an application process followed by an interview process of 5 candidates. If we have 5 candidates or less, this meeting does not become necessary. If we have 6 applicants or more, this meeting becomes required. It will be a special board meeting. That November 9th is a placeholder for now. We'll take a look at board schedules. The reason why we're feeling a little squishy on that is because the truth of the matter is we just don't know what the number of applications will be. Again, if it looks anything like it did in 2017, this meeting will happen, but if for whatever reason we have 5 applicants or less, November 9th is a meeting you can scratch off this list of requirements. On November 13th, that was that meeting that we talked about previously in the meeting, that we were looking at holding at Papillion La Vista High School. That will be here in this very room starting at 6 o'clock. That will be a high visibility, high interest meeting. We want to get as many people as here as possible so that they can help us vet our possible candidates. There will be 5 candidates interviewed unless we have less than 5 applicants. I don't think that's likely, but if we only have 3 candidates, for example, then we'll only interview 3 candidates, but no more than 5 candidates. Board policy lays out the process for the interview. Candidates will be given time to provide some background information. That information will also be shared on the application that'll go live on the website, but they'll be given some time to share information about themselves, their philosophy on education, any relevant experiences, and what they expect out of their time on the board if they're selected. There'll be a question and answer period for each candidate. That'll give the board some opportunities to engage with the applicants, and then the action is taken at the meeting. This is kind of an interesting process in that the board does not go into closed session. We do not go behind closed doors to discuss the candidates. We like this candidate, we don't like that candidate. It all happens in an open session. It could not be more transparent. So once the 5 candidates have exhausted their time and have gone through the question and answer period, at that point in time, we will leave it to the 5 board members to make a motion for an individual candidate. And assuming it's seconded, we will continue that process until we have a motion and a second and sufficient votes. In this case, it'll be 3 of the 5 to select one of those 5 candidates. We will know walking out of November 13th who that 6th board member will be. So it's a really exciting thing. It's democracy in action. It's one of the things that makes this a great board and this such a great country. However, we will not seat them until the following meeting. We will very deliberately put this as the last item on the agenda. Our rationale is this. If we did this at the beginning of the meeting and we selected somebody and then seated somebody, we potentially have items on the agenda and we're asking them to take action on something that they may have absolutely no background or experience in dealing with. So our rationale is we will select them at the end of the November 13th meeting. We will meet with them between the 13th and the 27th to make sure that they're fully apprised of future issues facing the board. We'll do a very quick onboarding process, and then on the 27th, they will be seated, they will take the oath of office, and then they will join this Board of Education with full voting rights for the remainder of Ms. Holtmeyer's term, which is essentially 3 years and 1 month, basically December plus 36 additional months. So very exciting stuff, but it's also very prescriptive. Ms. Iman, could we advance the slide? I don't know if we had a slide with the... before we talk about the communication of vacancy, one of the other things that's very critical, and I don't think I put it on the slide, the question may arise, so what are the legal requirements to be a candidate? There's 3 or 4 requirements. They're quite straightforward. 1, of course, is you are a resident of the Papillion La Vista Community Schools. 2, you are 18 years of age or older, and you are a registered voter. The other requirement that in practice that this board has taken is that you not be an employee of the school district. You may have family members that are members of the Papillion La Vista Community Schools family, but if I'm a teacher, for example, if I'm a principal, for example, I am not eligible to serve on the Board of Education because of the potential conflict of interest. So those are the requirements. All of this will be laid out in the application materials, and hopefully it's pretty straightforward and we get a really good turnout of candidates. As I mentioned earlier, we want to communicate with haste, with urgency, and transparency. So we will be doing a variety of of communication blasts. We know the parent and staff newsletters are very highly read. Our statistics, our data, and our surveys have told us that's one of the most highly read items. We will be pushing out information in the media, our district website, of course, our social media platforms, the district app. We'll be blanketing our staff and our community with email and text information. We're pretty darn good about getting information out to people, whether it's empty nesters, parents, or anybody else. So we're quite confident that we will be able to get this information in a timely way to the right people. But if there's other ideas that you have, or if you feel like that there's perhaps a gap in how we're pushing the information out, obviously please reach out to us at any time. We need to hear from our taxpayers and constituents. So it's an exciting time, it's a busy time, but we will be going into winter break with our 6th boarded candidate seated, ready to go, and filling out the remainder of that 3-year, 1-month term. And with that, Mr. Bailey, I would gladly answer any questions the board may have about this process.
Anyone have any questions or discussion? If you recall, 3 of the 5 of us sitting here were all part of the last one that we did, and none of us got picked. So as interesting as that may seem. So, all right. Thank you very much for outlining that. Look forward to seeing the communication out and see what kind of applications we get. All right. Thank you very much. That concludes Section 4. Section 5, future board calendar, October 10th, so tomorrow. Looks like you have a liaison lunch with Walnut Creek at 11:30. And then Mr. Madler on the 20th, you're going to be at Bell and also at 11:30. And our next Board of Education meeting will be right here on October 23rd at 6 p.m. Seeing no other business for this board, I will adjourn this meeting at 6:51 p.m.